What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the remote front office. Today now that we are past the Drew Holiday trades, the additional information with it, as Zach Lowe called it, the tentacles of that situation. I wanted to shine some light back on the James Harden situation. But before we get into that, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, hit the subscribe button. We are approaching 20 subs here. I appreciate every single one of you. But let's go ahead and get into it. So here's the deal, right? Yesterday was media day. There was a lot of good quotes, a lot of interesting things. Not limited to Jimmy Butler changing his hair again for media day. I'm curious if we get that player model update with his emo haircut that he had. There were a lot of things that came out of media day, right? We had Steph kind of initiating that he wants to play for the Olympic team. Same thing with Kevin Durant. Just a lot of odds and ends stuff here and there, right? The one person you didn't hear from on media day was James Harden because he wasn't there. As of right now, he has not reported to camp yet. However, Shams did clarify that it seems like he should be reporting to camp here in the next day or so. And the reason for that, a lot of people might be thinking, well, he should just pull a Ben Simmons and sit out until he gets traded, right? Because he's made it abundantly clear he is not playing for this organization. There's one thing. Have talked about it briefly in other videos, but if you guys do know, there is a clause in the CBA due to his age and contract status that essentially he cannot no-show for any more than 30 days. Otherwise, the Sixers can refuse him going to free agency at the end of the year, right? They essentially can say this year didn't count, restart it, next year will be your last year. The thing is, I don't know if that can continue on and on, but at Harden's age, I don't think he can risk it and have it go multiple years, right? And I also just think if you're the Sixers, I don't think you want him around. Here's the thing, though. Milwaukee, who we didn't think had an opening for a guard, has already filled that slot. Boston has filled their slot for a guard. Miami, I don't see them trading for Harden, even though it was an interesting one depending on the picks and players you have to give up. I think his value is so low right now, it's probably Kyle Lowry just for the salary and maybe like one swap or a protected first or something like that. The team he seems adamant to go to, though, is the Clippers. The thing is I don't know if the Clippers would do it at this point, right? They made it abundantly clear, it seems, that they don't want Terrence Mann in the deal. And they think at this point that Terrence Mann's too valuable for the deal. And they probably are right at this point because nobody else really wants Harden, and Harden doesn't want Philly. But I would assume at this point it's going to have to be some expirings, maybe a couple of rotation guys, like a Norman Powell or something, and that would be the deal, right? If you are James Harden, though, I personally don't understand the constant sitting out until you get your way. This is now destination number 3 this has happened at, and you've wanted to go to at least 2 of these destinations, right? You picked Brooklyn, you picked Philly after Brooklyn, and now you're wanting to pick the Clippers out of Philly, right? I don't understand leaving the guy that has literally done everything for you in your career. Daryl Morey took that Houston team and did whatever he could, minus the Russell Westbrook deal. I didn't love that one. But other than that, I think he built that team strictly for Harden to be at his best, right? I also think he's tried to build this team to have Harden and Embiid at their best, right? The spacing, bringing in guys Harden's familiar with, all of those sort of things, I think he's done for Harden, right? And this is how he got treated on the way out. I understand that you think that you are worth, or maybe they had some sort of under the table handshake. Here's your deal. But then you saw his performance last year and how it ended last year. And with the new CBA rules, he's not worth it. He's not worth a $40 million extension. He's not worth a $35 million extension. He's, I think, slowly going to turn into a Russell Westbrook here, right? Where it took Russell Westbrook a couple of years to find a team where his role fit, and now his salary fits that role, right? He had good flashes in Washington, but in LA, it feels like he just constantly struggled, and then he went to the Clippers, and it seems like he kind of found his spot in the rotation, right, in the pecking order. And I think Harden's just at that point now, right? We saw it a long time ago with Iverson. He kind of just thought he was still this guy, and it turns out he was this guy, and so he was out the league. The same thing happened to Carmelo Anthony, right? Carmelo's like, I'm not coming off the bench. You guys remember that OKC interview? When he first got there, he's like, I'm not coming off the bench. What are you talking about? And then he bounced around a couple of times, missed a couple of years, and all of a sudden he was playing for teams off the bench and was doing a pretty good job, right? He had that Portland run. He had the Laker run. Like, he did okay. So I think we're just now at the point where Harden needs to come to terms with he's not an MVP candidate anymore. He still has a really good mind as far as being able to see the court. The scoring, I feel like, is down a little bit just because he was already a slower player, and I think he's gotten slower as he's obviously gotten older. And I just think we're at the point now where Harden needs to understand. I personally would like to see him as a sixth man for a championship team, right? I think that would be really interesting. Like if he came off of a bench in Miami, or if he came off a bench in New York, or maybe if he went to Brooklyn again for really, really cheap though. Like there's just all these different ways that I think he could benefit an organization, right? If he bought into the role. I understand superstars think they're going to be superstars till the day they die. He's past that point. I think we can all acknowledge that he's past that point. I didn't love Harden superstar to begin with, but this now I think has made it worse. I hope eventually he comes to that moment. I really wish like a guy like Carmelo Anthony or a guy like Iverson would reach out and talk to him and discuss how this works now, right? You're at this stage in your career, you want to win a ring. This is what you have to do. You have to understand your role now. You have to fit into that role, fit into the organization, fit into the culture, and move on. Otherwise, you're going to end up ringless and not considered one of the best shooting guards of all time because you wanted to be selfish and worry about your stats and your game by game. Oh, he averaged such and such throughout this stretch, right? You didn't win a ring. You didn't compete at the highest level. You crumbled at the highest level. What conversation does that put you in, right? So I think somebody needs to have a serious heart-to-heart with James Harden, explain it to him, and then he needs to be able to go back to Philly and say, hey, I will play, and I will be here, and I will show support, but I do not want to be a part of this organization anymore. Please trade me. I don't care where, trade me, right? Because the way you build up that Clippers offer again is you allow other teams to come in and start getting offers, right? You allow a random team like maybe Utah. Maybe Utah wants to solidify their guard rotation. Maybe OKC takes a giant swing and thinks, well, we can help him out with that. Between Giddey and Harden passing would be amazing. Maybe you get another team like San Antonio. Maybe San Antonio takes a swing, right? You all of a sudden get more players in the market, and then therefore that drives the Clippers price up to what Daryl Morey wants. Now, is Daryl Morey getting a star like he thought he got for Ben Simmons? Absolutely not. Can he get some good quality rotation players? Like maybe a Norman Powell and maybe a Robert Covington, a Batum, right? You kind of solidify that roster around Maxey and Embiid, and then you free up some cap space, and hopefully you go big game hunting in the next couple of years, right? I understand Daryl's philosophy is 2 stars. Right now, you don't have that option. There is no pivot to get you to that option. But that's just my thoughts on the James Harden situation. If you guys have any other thoughts, leave them down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.